If you drop into the chat, like, give me a comment. Let me know you're here. Hello out there on the interwebs. Hello out there on the interwebs. The interwebs. The interwebs. Hello out there on the interwebs. I see 2 people are here. Nobody said hello yet. Okay, the chats are starting to pop up. Also, sometimes for some reason, I don't seem to get all the stupid chats. Hey! Hello, peoples! How are you guys? Let me know where you're coming from. British Columbia, yeah! BC. Tried to go to college there. Wanted to cross the border. Baltimore, hometown. Washington State. Palm Springs. I drove through Palm Springs. I have not stayed in Palm Springs. I saw Texas. I'm seeing Florida, Colorado. I know everybody's on different time zones, so I know I'm popping on kind of late. Bay Area, Indiana. You're in West Virginia right now? Awesome. New Jersey. You got somebody else from Texas, namely Dallas. I see New Hampshire, Utah. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm going to try to open up this other screen just so I can see what you guys see. Because sometimes I can't. Okay. Oh, wow. All right. Well, let me grab the real star of the show. No, I'm not going to grab him. He's eating. I was going to go grab the real star of the show, Mr. Mickey, but he's eating right now, so we're not going to disturb him. So how's everybody doing this Thursday evening? Oh, Gringo in the house. What's up? Glad to have you here. All right, the superstar just showed up. Say hi, Mickey. Say hi. He's like, what? Say hi. Say hi, buddy. He's like, I got things to do. All right, bye, friend. All right, I'm getting a terrible signal, man. Let me see. Well, I guess, yeah, it is kind of bad. Let me try this. Let me see if I can improve my signal a little bit. All right. Taking a little jaw through the chat. Let's see here. I think that's a little better. I think my signal just got a little better. That's good. Let me scroll through the chat here. There we go. That's much better. Don't filter things. I'm reading the chat, so sorry if I'm quiet. Kelly, I saw that you said you made 28 screens today for your bus. Oh my God. That's a lot of work. Congrats. You should be tired, but that's good work. 28 screens for your bus, man. Whoa. Mary says, every time I see a box truck, I think of you and hope you're doing well. Thank you so much. Love what you were good doing. MC says they can't wait to get a van and go on the road. Razrab asked me if I got mice in my van. I have yet to have a mouse in any of the vehicles I've lived in. Like, not one. You do have to realize feel like that happens in areas where there's mice. I mean, the same way it happens with houses. So, like, I'm sure if I camped somewhere where there were a lot of field mice, those field mice are going to get in the vehicle. It actually happened to Trent and Allie in their trailer, and they were somewhere one day, and I think it was just because they were in an area where there were field mice. I personally have never had one. I think it usually happens when you're like settled camping. There are exceptions to every rule, but a lot of times I think mice happen when you're settled in an area. And it's an area with mice. Where I grew up in Baltimore, we had a lot of field mice, and no matter how much we cleaned the house, no matter how much like we made sure food was locked away, mice got in the house at a certain season, and it was just, we knew that battle was coming, and we just prepared for it. So I think like the mouse problem isn't because you live in a vehicle. The mouse problem is because you're in a house. It just happens to be a mobile one where there are mice around looking for some place that's either warm or has food. And you can have all your food locked up and they're just looking for someplace warm, you know, and someplace to make a nest, and you happen to be there. So all you can do is fight the situation if it happens, but I honestly have not ever had it happen. The most annoying thing that's gotten in here is flies. And that was when I was driving through or camping in areas with flies. So I'm happy that all my current windows, well, not my front windows, but all my like box windows have screens on them. Like I can open them for fresh air, but they all have screens. That was a lot of talking. I'm going to scroll through the chat again. Lena says, I'm about to get a school bus next week. Awesome. How big is your bus? Because school bus covers such a range. They could be from very short, like shuttle bus length, to, you know, very big. But congrats on your bus. Gwen says, Mickey is the mouse prevention. That's the advantage of having a cat. Like, I hope he would go after the mouse. I try to encourage his hunting. That's why I get a lot of those motion toys. Like, I want to encourage him to be a hunter. I don't want to, like, dull that sense and him be that cat that would just sit there and be like, hi, mouse. Like, I don't want him to be that dude. Like, if I got a cat, at least go after Johnny's Journey says, I might not have gotten a mouse because they smell Mickey. I have not had a mouse in any of my vehicles. Like, way before. I've only had a cat in the last, like, less than a year. I've been living out of vehicles for going on 3 years now. Wow, time passes quickly. So yeah, like I think Mickey is mouse prevention, but like I honestly just haven't had a mouse problem yet. But hopefully Mickey would do his job. Katie in New Hampshire, I'm guessing that's what NH means, says fresh cab works great for mice. They don't like the smell and it's not poisonous. Irish Spring and dryer sheets never worked for me. Oh, cool. That's a good thing to know. Patricia says, husband and I are moving into our RV next month. Congratulations. Finding Joy says, my cat killed a rat this week. I would be so scared. Even with it dead, I wouldn't want to touch a rat. Like, a mouse is one thing. They're kind of tiny. Heck, if they didn't eat through everything, they're almost cute. But like a rat, I'd be scared. I'm reading through the comments whenever I get quiet. I'm like, I should tell them what I'm doing. I'm reading. Terry says, I bought my van. Congrats, Terry. Old Gringo says, I have some Irish background and I'm allergic to Irish Spring. That's too bad. Fine and Joy says, I'm building out a Chevy 2500 Express van, so bigger than mine. Congratulations. Have fun with it. The building process can get really, really frustrating. Like, there's these levels you go through. Like, there's getting the vehicle and having this vision of what you want it to be. And then there's actually starting the work and realizing that, like, 12-minute video you watched on YouTube, even if they were being real, really does not portray the experience. Like, I wouldn't say putting in insulation was hard. It was just long and involved. Like, you know, you see them cutting the foam board, and it's basically like, these are freaking rectangles. You know, it shouldn't have been that hard, but it's just like you're constantly cutting like all these long lines, and then you hit places where there's a weird shape, where you didn't think it was going to be a weird shape. And sometimes you just got to take a moment and breathe and like remember to enjoy the process, because it's easy to get the vehicle, see the build in your head, get frustrated during the build process, rush yourself because you want to be on the road, and then later on regret things you didn't take time with. So there's things that's just going to be more time consuming than you expect, even if you have people helping you. There's just things that are going to be way harder and more time consuming than you expect. And like, you have to I have to do it all the time. Just remind yourself to embrace it. You know what I mean? So for anybody, not just the person I was talking to directly, but for anybody else getting a vehicle, just remember that. I have to remind myself of that. like breathe, enjoy the process. Like, it's okay. Let me scroll through the comments. Seeking Joy says, I had a cat that would never chase a mouse, so don't count on Mickey for mice prevention. But my other cat frequently left dead rodents at my door. I guess they were presents. Or he thought you were a bad hunter. That's something I've heard recently. Like, a lot of times we like, oh, they're giving us a gift, and it's like, you can't figure out how to do this, so I'm going to show you. Like, sometimes they're trying to... So you're terrible at this. So let me show you what you can have if you just learn to hunt. So yeah, I guess you can take it either way. Cats can't talk, so either it's a present or they're talking down to us. One or the other. Johnny's Journey says, my van has caused reality to exceed the dream. I hope not too much, because to some extent you're going to adjust anyway. So yeah, there's some reality there that may adjust what you thought you wanted, but like, try to keep the dream there. The dream is where you can go. The vehicle is just a safe place to be while you're going there, and a safe place to stay once you get there. So like, don't lose the dream. Remember, the dream isn't about the build, it's about the journey. Did that sound cheesy enough? Did that sound like let me see. Jennifer Beetle says, 122 people watching. Can we see 122 thumbs up? So yeah, you should be able to just, if you haven't thumbs up the video, you should be able to, like, if you're on a phone, maybe you can rotate your screen or like click the little X out of the chat, and you should be able to enter right back into the chat. But make sure to hit the thumbs up. Just helps me out, helps with my analytics. Freedom Dove, also thank you for emphasizing the thumbs up. Love it, love it. I appreciate so much that people like do that for me in the comments, both moderators and non-moderators. Like, I do appreciate it. Raven says, hiya, Dawn. Gwen X, have I noticed any difference in the noise level or temperature inside the box? When I originally got the box before I put this stuff in, it was a noisy drive. I'm not gonna lie, it was a very noisy drive. But honestly, I'm glad I didn't get the kill mat because this has solved most of my problems. Like just putting the foam board on, and I have 1.5 inches on the walls, and I have 2 inches on the ceiling. So I got a significant amount of insulation there, and honestly that solved most of the noise problems. It is a louder drive than the van, but honestly most of it is gone away just with adding the foam board. Now as far as temperature control, here's the thing about the car, the minivan, and the Chevy van. I didn't do any insulation on those. I did not strip them down to the metal. Every single one of those vehicles were passenger vehicles that had the passenger stuff in it. So as much insulation as a car has when you buy it off the lot, that's what my previous vehicle had. There was no extra insulation. Like all I did was put in the stuff to live in it. And I think like at the beginning, people expected me to do the same thing with the box truck, and I was like, no, I'm gonna avoid putting furniture and furniture-like structures in here until I get insulation up and put the walls up and really get myself set up for that kind of stuff. So the difference in temperature control in and I haven't been through all seasons in this situation with it fully built out, so I can't really compare it to the Chevy van, the minivan, and the car because I haven't been through the seasons in those. A factory vehicle is going to get very hot in the summer, and it's not going to provide you a lot of like comfort in the winter as far as like fighting like temperatures one way or the other. But I think like comparing those to what I am doing long term in the box truck, if I had just left this as an aluminum box, I would be very cold and very hot. This is what's going to change that, the R value of this. So I am making the efforts to create more temperature control, but it's not about having a box truck versus the other vehicles. It's about the fact that I had this in a very base state and I am building back up from it. So if you really want to, you can buy like a passenger van, like the Chevy van I had before this, and you're going to have the same size as a cargo van, but more than likely it's going to come with all the interior stuff, and you don't have to rip it out. You can just leave it there, roll with it, build a bed. That's what Jelena of Leave Her Wild did with her first van, but with her bus, which is unfortunately not working right now, and she's looking into a mechanic for that. And oh my god, I wouldn't want to be going through what she's going through right now. But with the bus, she's actually going to make attempts to insulate and add those extra layers there for more temperature control. But it's not about the vehicle, it's about what you do with the vehicle once you get it. If you're just going to leave the factory passenger van stuff in there, you're not giving yourself the best fight against the exterior temperatures. I went on for a while there. That temperature, that question got me going on stuff. Heck no. First of all, fun name. Thank you for the $9.99 super chat. He says, I truly enjoy your content. You are awesome. Thank you so much. Old Gringo, thank you for the $5 super chat. I forget, do you prefer super chats or something else, or all is good? I appreciate anything people want to do. I know some people would rather contribute more directly, and if you do, I do have a Venmo and a PayPal. And if you choose for that to be a place you want to contribute, usually I have that located in the description of my videos. Just know anything you put in a super chat, I just don't get right away. Super chats, basically YouTube pays you for your ad revenue once a month. So it's around like the 21st or the 22nd. You get paid for your ad revenue based on your views on your videos, and that happens once a month. So super chat money just gets bundled in with that, and YouTube takes their cut before they issue you the money. So that's basically how the super chats work. I appreciate anything extra that people are deciding to contribute to the channel. So I want people to choose the method that's most comfortable to them. Let me scan up. I just want to make sure I'm catching things. Old Gringo says, I read some supposed scientific study that cats think humans are giant, clumsy cats. I believe that. I believe they're just trying to train us how to act better. I'm just scanning through the comments. FDM215 says, hey Dawn, congrats on passing 2 million views. I cannot believe that number. Like I don't even know what to do with that number. I remember when I got 100 subscribers and I was like, why do I have 100 subscribers? There's like 100 people who wanted to watch my channel. And so, like, I don't even know how to react to the fact that thank you so much for the congrats, that there are that many views out there for, my videos. Especially the early ones when I was just kind of stumbling in front of the camera and just like, I'm going to shoot something. And yeah. So, yeah. Kelly says, I feel bad for Jelena, but she is tough. Yeah, I actually texted Jelena today because I was like, hey, Mickey! Yeah, she's yeah, I feel bad. It's not fun when your vehicle doesn't run, especially when your vehicle's like your home. And I know she was planning a really big move. And to be able to just kind of like go, so it sucks. Yeah. I'm scanning the comments. I'm a reading. Jana Banana, I hope I'm saying your name right, says, I believe cats think we do not know how to hunt, so they bring us money. I'm with you. I think it's like, it's ineptitude. MC says, you're doing great with climate control. One of my worries when starting in my van, any advice? MC, I would say just research different insulation types. I mean, one of the reasons I went with foam board is because these walls are straight. But with vans are very weirdly shaped. Like my friend Emily is building out a Ford Transit, and I think she's using, and I actually have 2 types of insulation. I do have some Frost King, where the front of the vehicle curves, and that's because that area is the one area that's not straight. So that insulation has a lower R value than this stuff. And if you don't know what R value is, I would say just go like research it. There's like so many videos on insulation, but also you can get buried in that. Just remember one universal rule: some insulation is better than none. And anywhere you don't insulate the metal is a place that's more vulnerable to temperatures not being as controlled. That doesn't mean if you miss like an inch on your van, it's going to make it extremely hot in there, or anything like that. Windows do make you more vulnerable to temperature. So the more windows you have, the less temperature control you have. But you have to decide how much you value windows and then just work around that. But don't let it like intimidate you too much. I think you need to make the best decision for the style of vehicle you have. Like if I had, I don't know, a Ford Transit like my friend, I don't know if I would have used foam board. Now I've seen foam board used in vans, but I might have made a different decision just because there's so many weird corners in vans and so many weird curves. Like the ProMasters are like very straight. So they may adapt better to like straight insulation, but I think, and I'm not sure about Sprinters, but I think like Ford Transits, they're kind of straight and then they kind of go like this. And I'm not sure about the Sprinter. I think that might have the same thing. Like it gets kind of weird. There's a point where it stops being really straight. So I think I would, yes, research the best insulation, but also look at the best insulation for your situation and look at the best insulation for like your vehicle that's not going to drive you crazy trying to apply it. Because some is better than none, you know? And then after that, understand that a vehicle for the most part is not a house. And some of going out into nature is that you may be a little bit more cold and hot than you're going to be in a temperature controlled house. Like I did not have roof vents in any of my previous vehicles. Like none. Like in the minivan, I rolled down the window or I rolled it up. That was the extent of my temperature control. And like I had a buddy heater that I was afraid to use at night. So most of my temperature control was putting on clothes if I was cold and taking them off and putting in a 12-volt fan, turning on a 12-volt fan if I was hot. And you can always add things. Now it's kind of hard if you skip insulating your walls to do that without ripping everything out. But if you don't have a roof vent at first, you can add one later. Like plenty of people put them in later. Like if you only can afford one, you can get a second one later to improve your airflow. People have put in like windows later. Like Chrome, you know, just put a window in his van after how many years? So just don't let any, do your research. Make sure it's applicable to your actual situation and just like roll with it from there. You can always change and adjust. So yeah. Okay, so there's some super chats I want to acknowledge real quick. Ziggy, thank you for the $9.99. I'm assuming that's a euro symbol? Sorry. Terry, thank you for the $10 super chat. Congratulations to you for like having a van. Is there anybody I missed? No, it's just those two. Thank you so much for the super chats. Because the next thing I need to buy is a wall to go over this wall and ceiling to go over the ceiling. And now everybody's looking at my bat wings. Let's hide those in the t-shirt. My fatty bat wing. JK says it's so cool that the storage place lets you do your build there. JK, I got like disappointing news. First of all, I did the insulation thanks to Gina. She's one of my patrons and she is a subscriber to my channel and she let me use her driveway because when I did the subfloor at the storage place, I was basically there all day and I pulled all my junk out. And I had to because I was doing the floor. And at that point, I was unfortunately approached and told I can't be there all day building. They were like, if you have something that's going to take like an hour or two, that's fine. But you cannot just, like, unfortunately, you can't take over that much space all day. So unfortunately, right after that particular incident, I had to start rethinking sort of where I was doing my work depending on how extensive the project was. And believe me, they were totally sweet about it. And we had a conversation about sort of, they really support the project. They love what I'm doing. But the problem, they said, if other people see me taking too much advantage, basically, they'll start to think it's okay for them to do it too. And unfortunately, as a business, they have to think about that. So like, if it's like takes an hour or like, you know, it doesn't involve pulling out everything and like putting it, you know, on the ground in the ground of the storage unit, um, that's a little much to do on site. So I really have to, like, if it's a small project, I'll do it there. Like, I installed my storage box there underneath the truck, but I can't do like big, long, full day involved projects there. So I'm really grateful to Gina. She lives out near Sacramento-ish, so it was quite a drive for me. But being able to drive out there for the weekend and just spend the whole weekend on installation was really just a gift that I don't even know how to repay. How to begin to repay. I mean, Gina's been like super generous, like in more ways than I've been able to like thank her for. But really, that was a huge thing. I had the weekend off. I didn't have to do any rehearsals, and I just drove out there, and I had most of my stuff in her garage for the weekend, and I was able to knock all of the insulation out. There's some little things that's not completely done, but like the big stuff I had to do with kind of everything out of here, I was only able to accomplish because she gave me that driveway, because I had the money for the insulation, but I didn't want to buy the insulation because I had nowhere to store it unless I could execute it. So I literally bought it Friday, stuck it in the van, the box truck, whatever. I slept around it with like hardly any floor space. And then I got to her house Saturday morning. She helped me pull everything out and get set up in her driveway. And, you know, I had the weekend to really just knock it out and get it done. And I don't know how I would have done it if that opportunity hadn't presented itself. So I'm really grateful for it. So yeah, that was a lot of talking. Julie says you should consider finding and using reclaimed wood for your walls, or a cheaper medium. Plywood is $50 for a 1/4 inch or larger, $75 for 1/2 inch, and $100 for 1 inch sheet of plywood now. I've seen it cheaper, actually. The price seems to vary from state to state, and maybe even like county to county. I don't know, but I've definitely seen all those sizes cheaper than that. I honestly, I'll face that. I don't have the money. Even if plywood was cheap right now, I wouldn't have the money to buy it. Like, the money I have, I need to hold on to because I need things like gas and food. So I keep trying to say I'm not gonna spend this much money, but then it's like I want to get the project done, so then I like will spend the money, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna hold my breath till the end of the month. And there's been some generous gifts that have kind of helped things along, but the only thing I've bought as far as wood right now is the subfloor pieces. As far as wood, like the wood that you see, what can you guys see on camera? There's no wood there. So back there on my roof vent, the one that's just exhaust, the one that's going to be over the kitchen, that wood is just the wood that I took off the side of the box truck, and it's the same thing around the windows, and like all the wood that I've used except for 1 2x4 and the plywood on the floor has been reusing the wood I took off the side of the truck. So I haven't had to buy a lot of wood yet. A lot of the things I've had to purchase, like insulation, was crazy. I went to 3 stores. I actually have mismatched insulation because I gave up on finding what I was looking for, so I bought what would work. So like, because I was like, okay, I'm just gonna buy what works because I cannot find what I'm looking for. And I know that's also a problem too. Like, even though construction supplies have gotten more expensive, people are still buying them as soon as they show up because there's such a demand for them. So even though they're more expensive, people are still buying it. So that's been an interesting part. I did not expect insulation to be so hard to just buy, and I didn't want to buy it early because I don't have enough storage room in my storage unit for it. um so yeah. I do know about the Restore though. I am going to check out the Restore, and I'm going to check out a place called Urban Ore. It's a local place, so I don't know how many people know about it, but both of those places, people like take their old construction stuff there. And they're probably both cheaper than Home Depot, but right now I just don't have the money, so I'm in a holding pattern for money, and there's some small fixes I need to do. I need to do some seam work on some of these foam boards. Excuse me. And there's a couple little things I need to do anyway. So I have stuff I can do, but honestly, right now we've amped up on rehearsals, because we're going to be going into tech pretty soon. And so right now the show is kind of an intense demand, which has made it hard to edit because rehearsal takes up time, and then I have to send reports, and then I have to send notes to specific people, and then I have to make sure those notes go back to the people who need the answer about the note. So it's just been demanding more time, and I feel like it's going to continue to demand more time until we get out of tech. And so it's going to make both editing the stuff I've already shot and proceeding more on the build more complicated. But when I finally get paid for this show, which I haven't been yet, I'll be able to use that money very effectively to forward the build. So that's where I am with that. Um, I'm reading now because, like, I know I've ran my mouth, so it's probably been a lot of questions. Like that insulation said Jen Halliburton. Does it help with sound and temperature? It has helped a lot with sound. I can't really gauge the temperature effects because it got warmer anyway. So yeah, I mean, like it just got warmer anyway. And it's hard for me to judge. Like, I like it by default. I know it's making a difference, but it's nothing that I can track because I haven't like lived in it yet. Now, sound has been huge difference. Like this, I used to be like, I had to put like a pair of headphones around my neck and my Bluetooth headphones, and Bluetooth it to my phone so I could like hear my radio show as I was driving. I don't have to do that anymore. Like I can just, the radio doesn't work in this, but if I sit my cell phone in the cup holder in the front, like I can just, actually hear it without either putting it on a Bluetooth speaker or putting Bluetooth headphones around my neck. So the sound quality has improved a lot. So I'm, like I said, I'm really happy I didn't bother with the Kilmat or the Dynamat because the foam board has done just an amazing job just making the sound better while I'm driving. Old Gringo says, have you checked out that hippie farmer van build guy from Northern California? He builds cabinets for his van out of foam, adds something to it, and it's lightweight and strong. I actually researched foam cabinets, and I was trying to decide if I wanted to go in that direction. So yeah, I don't know if I know about the person you're talking about, but I know about the process for foam cabinets. It's basically like you use the rigid foam and then you use screening material and you paint that into the foam in order to make it more rigid. So I know about it, but I haven't fully explored it. I'm except in my head. Um, Dora asked me if the rig feels more cozy now with the insulation and vents. It feels more cozy with the insulation. um, like it just does. It feels more like I'm in the best position I've ever been with like fighting the elements. Um, was it the pound symbol? I was like, pounds? uh, JK says, damn, it was too good to be true. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, they're still really nice to me. You know, they just, unfortunately, they have to set the limits for their business. Johnny's Journey says, I know someone that lives part-time in a storage unit. That would scare me. I would be too scared of getting caught. Um, Old Gringo, thank you for the symbols. I thought it was pounds, and then I was like, am I wrong? And actually, then I changed it, and I was right the first time. Ha ha! I was right the first time. Um, External influences says we installed fence and decks, and the price of wood is crippling us right now. Yeah, especially with fences and decks, that's a lot of wood. Um, I'm sorry, like AJ's road tripping and saying I've been using pallets and reclaimed wood. Pallets are hard to work, and reclaimed wood doesn't grow on trees. Yep. Uh, AJ, good luck on your project. It's not fun getting wood right now, but it's like I'm gonna do the best I can when I get there. Um, and I'm just not thinking about it right now because like I don't have the money anyway. So it's one of those I don't have the money anyway, so I can't do anything about it type things. Um, Also, maybe I'm not using my resources properly because I'm like probably I could like talk to the my fellow tech people and be like, hey, do you know anybody trying to get rid of some wood? And I just thought of that like sitting here. Um, like maybe I should exploit those resources a little more fully. Um, Ashley, who helped me with one of the windows, she asked me how it was going today, and I really would like to like knock out some more stuff with her when I can. But I never thought, hey, a person who owns tools like Ashley might know who got some wood sitting around. Maybe I should ask. Um, Bye to Jen Halliburton, who had to roll out work tomorrow. Ringo Starr, hello to you. Black Lives Matter Port asks, can you save money living in a van? Yes and no. Like, if you are just like an urban van dweller, you have a day job, but you're cutting all the expenses of living in your area by living in a vehicle instead, you will save money. If you are maybe on some type of limited income and you can stay on BLM land so it's not costing you anything to park and you're just paying for your insurance and gas and a few other little things, yes, you can save money. But van life can also cost you money. Number one, if you think you're going to get a Sprinter van, you're going to get a professional build, you're going to have top line everything, that's already going to be expensive. But let's say, like, you get all that, that's in the past, and now you don't have to pay for it anymore. I mean, that's the good thing about a van. Like, you build up your fancy van, let's say you find the money to do it, and it's all out of pocket, you don't put it on any credit cards, your van's not on a payment plan, except, let's say you live in that ideal world where that happened. Now you can move on from that point and not spend a lot of money because you have your van. But if you want to travel a lot, it's going to cost you money. If you travel a little bit less, it's going to cost you less money. And if you're just staying in one spot mostly, it's going to cost you even less money. Van life can be very expensive or it can be very cheap. And really, it's how you start your van life. If you go into debt trying to start van life, which sounds crazy, but people do it. I mean, like, I had a payment plan on my minivan. Like, I wasn't debt free. I had a payment plan on my minivan. Now, I needed it, and it was cheaper than rent. And, and I freaking loved my Toyota Sienna. But I had a payment plan for it. Plenty of other people get minivans, and they just pay for them flat out. So, it can be cheaper if it's just a housing thing. If it's just a housing thing, it can be cheaper. If you want to travel, it depends. Like, if you like are a snowbird and you know your spots and you have a couple of big like expenses getting to like your summer, winter, fall areas, it may not cost you as much as like somebody who's like it's I'm gonna like take a year off to see the United States or like go to South America or drive to Alaska. Like, that travel is gonna cost you money. It's gonna cost you money in gas. It's gonna cost you money in wear and tear on the vehicle. Vehicles have expenses. So yes and no. Van life can be cheap. It also can be expensive. By and large, I would still say the fanciest van is still cheaper than a fancy house. But that doesn't make it cheap depending on what your line of resources are. Somebody living off, somebody who's, what's the word I'm looking for? Somebody who's a digital nomad. They sort of have some kind of job they can take on the road. Has like a salary and they're just lucky enough to be able to do their job on the road, or they have some other type of independent income they've created. What they consider cheap is not going to be the same as somebody who's trying to live off their social security in a van. But the most expensive van, if it's paid off, if you don't have payment plans on it and all that other stuff, is probably still cheaper than an expensive house. So yeah. You can the thing about van life is you can make it cheap. Like, my whole thing is like, when I don't have money, I don't drive a lot. People seem to assume because you like live in a vehicle, you drive a lot. I would say most days right now while I'm building, I'm very rarely more than 45 minutes from my storage unit. That's how little bit I drive. And a lot of times I'm in the same place all day. And then I'm in the same place all night. And then I'm back to somewhere during the day. And maybe the only diversion to that is when I go to the storage unit to build, or a lot of times when I go to the Home Depot parking lot to build. Those are pretty much the only other choices I make. So I'm spending very little on gas compared to when this is done. I hope to be traveling more, and I'll be spending more on gas. I'll also be putting more wear and tear on the vehicle, so I need to have that money put away for things that might go wrong with the vehicle. Right now, something could go wrong with the vehicle, but I'm not going to be like in the middle of Texas where I don't know anybody with a broken down vehicle. I'm going to be in, the Berkeley, Oakland, etc. area where I do have some resources to reach out to, which I would never want to do except in an extreme emergency. But it's sort of a different type of situation. So like, I'm a little nervous about where like sort of my emergency joke of a fund is right now. But also, I'm not driving like a billion miles. And that's one of the biggest controllable expenses you have living van life. It's like, if I need to slow down and be still for a while, I will. And when I have the money to like move some more, I will. You don't have to, unless you're like some 19-year-old kid, no offense to the 19-year-old kids out there, but unless you're like some 19-year-old kid who's like, I want to see all of America before I start college next year, or like, I've always wanted to drive down to Mexico and like, spend some time there with my friends, or like something like that, where you like feel in a rush before you do this next life thing. then that's different. And that's going to cost you more money because you're traveling farther, faster, trying to see a bunch of things. One of the reasons I got the box truck is I realized I don't want to move that fast. I want to take some time to go places, settle in for a bit, really soak it in, then move on to the next thing. Not travel, stay places a night and then move on. Like that's not something I kind of experimented with that, but like getting the box truck, there was a plan not to do that. To really spend some time, settle down in a spot, soak it in before you move on to the next thing. That was a lot of talking. Um, I'm seeing a lot of shout outs to the Habitat for Humanity Restore. That's what it's called, the Restore, Restore. There is one that I've never been to, because I've been researching it, but also Urban Ore is fairly accessible. So yeah, but I've heard tons of good things about the Restore. Johnny's Journey said you should let small channels sponsor your projects. Today we are working on Wool, sponsored by Johnny's Journey. I think you could get your build completely done. If it means I have to travel, I can't leave Oakland right now. I have a job. So like I've had help offered that's just too far away. So the problem right now is I literally cannot leave Oakland. I have daily commitments here to the show. Like going to Sacramento was pushing it. And I knew I had to be back by Monday. I left on Friday knowing I had to be back by Monday because there was a rehearsal on Monday and I had to be there for it. So I can't just like up and leave, not only not leave the state, I can barely go to like too far outside of the Alameda County area. Berkeley and Oakland are within Alameda County, but I can barely leave Alameda County, let alone go any further than that. What do you think of Camper Van Lance? I don't think I've seen Camper Van Lance. I think it's an ambulance conversion. Battleground Victory said, did you sell the van yet? That van's been gone. How hot is it in the box van right now? Not at all. Like it's literally not. It's also not been a hot day. And the temperature drops at night. It's nighttime now. And during the day, honestly, if I turn on my fans, I'm fine. How long have we been on? Oh, almost an hour. Okay, that's not bad. I've seen live chats go longer than that. Dawn, the phone bill channel has Old Gringo. I see. Thank you for the $5 super chat, and I see the note about the channel. I will check that one out. I might have. Whoa, sorry, hit something. I might also have some help with cabinets from an outside source. But we'll see if that goes through. I don't want to talk too much about it just in case it doesn't happen. I'm scanning comments. Bye, Freedom Dove. I just saw your comment. You're probably already gone because it was like 10 minutes ago. Scott Argall says, my storage unit has limited power. It has power but no water. I have not had power in a storage unit ever. The most they have is like a light bulb so you can see. And I think it's designed that way to discourage people living in it. Because really all you need to live out of that thing is power. I mean, water, you just need a water jug. Like, I've never had, like, running water in any of my... Well, I did for a while, but mostly water jugs. Like, it doesn't... So, like, once you have power, people will try to live in there. So I think that's why most of my storage units have not had it. Uh, Johnny's Journey said, I built a van for a traveling nurse. I am getting a ton of housing money and only spend $400 a month. Awesome. I'm seeing the notes about Craigslist. Sorry, the chat is jumping on me as new stuff is coming out, so I'm trying to make sure I don't miss stuff and scrolling back. I see the note about pallets. Fartzilla says, need to get rid of commercial registration and spend half as much to insure it weight fees. When I first got it, I just wanted to legally drive it. And the fastest way to legally drive it was to get commercial insurance and just pay for the registration as is. The registration needs to be renewed in June. In my ideal world, I get a bed in here, I get some basic plumbing in here, and before registration comes due again in June, I can try to get flipped to RV. But when I first got it, I just had an empty metal box with nothing done to it that just looked like a box truck. So I did the only thing I could do to continue to legally drive it, which was get the commercial insurance and keep it registered as is, just put it in my name. But I'm hoping I'm in a state that makes sense, even if I'm not done. I'm in a state that makes sense to go down to DMV and try to get this flipped to an RV by June. So for me, from what I hear, I know somebody that literally just threw a bed and a porta potty in theirs and went down to the DMV. As much as people say California's a pain in the butt, and got registered as an RV. So I'm thinking if I get the bed and some sort of plumbing and borrow my friend's porta potty, that should be enough, especially with what's done in here, to have them change the registration. But we'll see. Like, that's my hope. Right now, is that I can make it happen before I have to pay commercial registration again in June. Excuse me. I'm sitting on my fridge and I need some water. There we go. I'm like, I need some water. My throat's getting dry. I see people saying good night. Good night to people who have to log off. I know I came on kind of late. Oh, I feel really bad for the people who, like, literally can't find gas right now. I mean, like, California gas prices suck. Like, right now, $3.80 a gallon is a deal. And I'm like, that's sad. Like, most of the gas is at least $4 or more a gallon, and I don't know how worse it's gonna get. And the whole, like, gas situation where, like, there are places where people, you know, can't even get gas. That really sucks, man. I don't know what the current state of that situation is. But yeah. I'm scanning through the chat. I'm reading, guys. Sorry for the silence. James Carroll says, getting ready to do the battery isolator that you had in your own van. Did you still like it when you had the old van? I mean, it was great. It was an easy way to add that extra charge to the batteries when I was driving. And that's always great, just having that additional like charge there. I'm assuming you have the one that automatically switches on and off, the voltage sensitive relay one. I liked it just fine. I thought it was great. Gloria X, what's been the most hardest thing for you to get used to living in a van or a box truck? Temperature control. And the lack of it. I mean, like, sometimes it really sucked to be cold. You know, I hate to say, like, that was usually the worst part. Because, like, with heat, honestly, sometimes it was just better to be outside, and by night it would cool down. And there were times where that was miserable too, like when it got really extremely hot. But I felt like it took more extreme heat to make me miserable than extreme cold, and than cold. I didn't need it to be extremely cold. Like the cold, I could layer up. But it was easier to be uncomfortable cold than it was to be uncomfortable hot. But heat sucked. Like extreme heat, like real heat. There's no like relief from it. But I think it's because at night the temperature drops, so even in warm climates, I'm kind of looking forward to better temperature control. Because it's just one of the more challenging things about living in a vehicle, and it's when my feet get cold. Oh, by the way, guys, yeah, everything it really was about my feet getting cold. It was because I don't think, like, with my body, honestly, like if I put on a hoodie and stuff, I was fine. But if my feet get cold, like I'm really, really uncomfortable. So I finally gave in and got this. And what is this? It is a 12-volt blanket. I finally got one because I don't know when I'm gonna get my heating system, and now it's not even really cold at night. Like it's perfect. Like right now the temperature's like literally perfect. It's perfect during the day and it's perfect at night. It's not too hot, it's not too cold, and I finally buy a 12-volt blanket. Now I don't need it. But I'm sure there'll come a point where I'm glad I have it. But it was just my feet. Like my feet just being cold, and it was annoying. And I will say, like, now I'm super comfortable with it. Like, half the time I don't think about where I park, but I will say the first stages of figuring out your comfort parking. Especially when you're in an urban setting, you're not, I don't know, I guess some people would be more uncomfortable about BLM land. Like, those first like stages of like learning to park and just be comfortable with the fact that you're on the street, you know, those were a little tough to negotiate. Let me see. I'm a reading the comments. I lost my place again. I'm trying to find Fartzilla says Fremont DMV didn't even check anything for me, just had my forms ready to go. That's good to hear. Like, I swear, as much as people say California is hard, I keep hearing situations where people barely tried and got their vehicles converted into RVs. Whereas I hear from some other states, like I was watching this couple that bought a bus and they were talking about how they failed their inspection, and I was like, inspection? Like what kind of inspection did they give you? Because they were trying to convert their bus over to RV. But I keep hearing like people saying like they did it really easy in California, so I don't know if I should get too comfortable in that and then show up and be like, it's an RV, and it's like, you don't have these things, so it's not. It'll be interesting. Monica Perez says, in Texas, gas is $2.69, and that is high. I wish I could find gas for $2.69. Yeah. Sorry, 269 gas. That's where I was. Landon McCoy, thank you for the heart and the much love. Johnny says, have you thought of letting someone that has done builds fly out and help and get you to the point of licensing? If it's somebody I have to pay, I don't have the money, and nobody's volunteered to do that, I wouldn't stop them. As long as they're willing to, like, do it my way. Like, I have a very specific vision for what I want. And if they're just there to help me do that, that's great. But nobody has volunteered to fly to Oakland and help me do a build. I wouldn't stop them if they did, but nobody's volunteered to do that. And honestly, to get the licensing, I don't need to be finished. I need to have, as far as what I've checked for a house car, as they're called in California, you just have to have plumbing and a bed. Like, literally, if I get a working sink in here and a bed, that's the qualification. It doesn't need to be done. So the help wouldn't be so much about the licensing as just being done. And I could, honestly, if I had the money, I could get to that point next week. Like, I could put in a bed that I could remove and put in a sink that I could remove. The sink I want, I can't get yet because I don't have the money. And my bed pieces are a work in progress because there's a couple things I need to buy. Linda Bishop says 289 in Ohio. Cuzzy Angel says California is easy. It just has to look like a permanent conversion, meaning walls, bed, floor, you are there already. So maybe if I just threw a mattress in here, they'd be like, cool, good to go. I might be able to just throw a mattress in here. That'd be great. And I can just take the mattress out of my way and keep doing what I want to do. Honestly, I'm so close to building the bed anyway. Like, I don't want it in the way of this wall. Like, the biggest thing about the platform bed would literally be cutting through my face right now from where I'm currently sitting. And so my only thing is, like, if I put in the bed the way I want it for permanence, I'd have to take it out to finish this wall. And so, like, right now registration isn't due. So I think what I'll do is if I get to June and for some reason it's not done, I'll put in enough temporary stuff that if somebody does look in here, they can see there's a bed. And maybe I'll borrow my friend's porta potty too and just switch things enough around that when somebody else looks in here, they see, like, cool, go with it. If they even look, because according to the person who went to Fremont, they just signed the paperwork and let it go. So yeah, but I don't want to assume that's going to happen and go down there without, like, at least a bed, like a visual, like, this is a bed. Even if I end up just throwing a folding bed in here or something and a porta potty maybe. I'd rather have the sink too, even if it's something I throw together that works. Just so, like, they don't have a reason to reject me. Like, I don't want to make the trip down to DMV to be rejected and have to go back. So I'd rather be over-prepared than under-prepared, but maybe I can fake it a little bit if I'm not ready by the time registration is due. Or at least the top of June. We got $3 a gallon in KC. We'll see who's still here. I know a lot of people have gone to bed or gone to do things. Nope, that's still working. I'm back, I'm alive. Alrighty. Let me jump back into the chat here and see what I missed while I was trying to reboot the device. I thought it was charging. and I hadn't hit the button. So over here is my Jackery 1500 that I need to do a video on tomorrow. It is strapped down, so that's why this bungee's here, so it doesn't fall. And I actually broke the first one they sent me. The screen broke on the first one they sent me. So I just got it back. And so I have it strapped down so that it doesn't fall again. And I had my phone plugged into here, which is why I'm just shooting from this angle and not moving around too much. But I hadn't hit the little green button that means it's charging. Hadn't hit that button. It was plugged in, but it wasn't getting any power. So the phone was like, bye, my battery's dead. So that's fun. Oh man, I know we were talking about gas prices and people who and people's gas prices in their area. I'm just gonna scan real quick, just try to catch up, see what you guys were talking about while I was struggling. I answered that question. I'm scanning because, like, I lost track of where I was. Jana Banana asked if California is RV van life friendlier. Depends on where you are in California. I mean, that's the real answer. The thing about California is trying to make all of California anything is kind of difficult. So, like, I'm from Maryland. Maryland is a speck compared to the size of California. So I think, like, you can stereotype a Marylander easier than you can a Californian. And when people stereotype Californians, they're mostly thinking about Los Angeles, unfortunately. People in California do have general ideas of people, like, from the Bay Area or, like, from LA. And, like, there's other places, like, within California, among Californians that have, like, a stereotype. But California is literally almost the entire West Coast. Which I didn't realize until I got here. Like, my whole stereotype of California was Los Angeles. Like, I thought that was just a whole darn state. And it's a very untrue stereotype. Which you don't realize till you're here. You know, and I will say, like, even in a small state, depending on areas, it's more diverse, but the smaller the state, the more similarities you're going to see. And, like, California's huge. And so, like, it's, like, I would not want to live in a van in San Francisco. It's a freaking, I avoid crossing that bridge as much as humanly possible because it's a freaking nightmare across that bridge for me. I would say, though, the Bay Area, how can I phrase this, is very pro helping the homeless. So if you appear in their eye, rather you think of yourself as houseless by choice or homeless, if you appear in their eyes as homeless, and anybody who considers themselves woke, don't be offended by this, it's very woke to want to help the unfortunate, quote unquote. And so in that way, if they don't see you as, like, some sort of rich brat showing off in, like, your Sprinter van, it can be a plus. It's not necessarily always a plus, because there's also people who are like, I'm sick of these RVs that nobody will kick out that are, you know, taking up blocks and blocks of space in my business area. Because I went to a whole thing about that a while ago while I was still living in the minivan. I went to this like town hall meeting because a bunch of people wanted to get a bunch of RVs off a street where like literally it's like an encampment. And I'm not saying anything bad about those people. I'm just saying like that is the general attitude. It's like if somebody thinks like you're suffering, quote unquote, their first thought is not attack and kick you out, except for some people who are like, I don't want other people to feel invited because we're inviting this person. But in general, the Bay Area wants to be forward thinking, wants to help the homeless. And I'm just saying, if you appear as a person who might not be in their situation by choice, it can possibly benefit you more than hurt you in some situations. I'm not seeking that on purpose. But even the other day, when the woman realized I was living in my box truck, the security guard, and she had left like a notice about not parking overnight there, it wasn't because she thought somebody was sleeping in it. She thought somebody had left their vehicle there. And then when she realized I was living out of it, then she came back with these homeless resources for me, like people I could call. And so her whole attitude changed. So it's a lot of ebb and flow of that. Like if you go into really ritzy neighborhoods in California, especially places that have been overrun by quote unquote van life, like I've heard certain areas of San Diego and Santa Cruz, the people who are in the neighborhood don't have like the best reception to the idea of like van lifers running over their pretty places. Now there are plenty of people who have beautiful experiences in San Diego and Santa Cruz even, but I'm saying like there are certain areas and neighborhoods where they're annoyed by the idea of the popularized Instagram van life, and so any sign of a person living out of a van will annoy the neighborhood to the point that they might call the cops. That was the one thing I liked about the minivan, though, is like nobody suspected the minivan, like even with the cargo carrier on top. So yeah, that's my answer to that. California is a mixed bag. That's the where was I? Where was I? Doo doo. I'm reading just to let you know. Whenever I start talking for a long time, I'm like, I missed stuff. Booster Girl asks, what part of Maryland are you from? I was born and raised in Baltimore. I spent a little bit of time living in DC. Not really DC, but the Maryland counties that consider themselves part of DC. I was doing some theater work in DC and in the surrounding area, and I sort of lived in that area with a friend of mine for a little bit. Old Gringo, thank you for another $5 super chat, and he says, I bet Baltimore is different from the Eastern Shore. It is, but I don't know if it's as extremely different as the different areas of California. Like, California, even, like, in its, California, even in its microclimates, it just has more variety than I expected. I was like, oh, this is, like, wow. Christina Rose says New England is not van life friendly at all. That sucks. So if anybody is looking for gas, RMD, just say it out loud, says check the Gas Buddy app For stations that do have gas near you, they're updating hourly and shows closed as well as those with gas. So if anybody is in an area with a gas shortage, this seems to be a good time to download the Gas Buddy app. That is good to know for anybody who's like running into that problem. I'm just reading. Christy Rose says if the police catch you sleeping in your vehicle, they will chase you out. Well, here's the thing though. It's really hard to catch somebody sleeping in their vehicle. Like, it's not illegal to be in your vehicle as long as you're legally parked. Like, if you're somewhere where you can legally park, like, they have to prove you were sleeping in it. Like, it's not, like, if I was sitting in here working, as long as it's not a time-restricted spot, it's not illegal for me to sit in my vehicle in a legal spot. So the thing is, to get caught sleeping in your vehicle, like, you have to, like, expose the fact that you're sleeping. It's something that's really hard to prove. You know, you can't prove that I didn't just pull off the road for a rest. I try not, in urban situations, to be in groups. Like right now, I'm on a road where there's like a box truck behind me that's just a Penske truck. Like, it's a Penske moving truck. It's a mix of businesses and residential. I'm kind of toward the busy road, not exactly on the street where like the houses and like personal areas are. And like, it doesn't say there's Vanlifers plural here. There is a random box truck that happens to have windows and a ladder on the side. And what I really love about having the ladder on the hooks instead of having like a permanently attached RV ladder is that it confuses the heck out of people. I was at the gas station the other day and a guy had just got a job driving box trucks, and he started asking me questions. And then I explained to him that I was building it out into an RV. And he was like, for real? He was like, I never would have thought that. And a lot of people seem to think, sorry, my throat is dry. A lot of people seem to think that the windows give it away. And I think like having that ladder on hooks outside of my truck actually does help people go, it's probably a work truck. Like, no matter what I do to this, it's something about having, instead of like a climbable ladder like an RV, just that ladder that's on hooks outside the box truck, and even the work boxes underneath. It gives this industrial impression that's way more confusing. And that's a good thing. And so also, I think if this was mixed in with like a Sprinter van and like some other type of van that looked like it was a camper van conversion, people might look at this one too and look up and maybe see the impression of like my roof vent or something. But generally, people just don't think that it's a conversion. Now, when I tell people and they really look, they're like, oh yeah, I see this, I see this, I see this. It makes sense. But that's been good for me. I don't even know how I got on that rant, but yeah. I know there's some sort of conversation going on about Jackery, but I honestly don't know what it is. Carolyn Gassett, I'm not going to read your whole comment, but yeah, that's pretty much how I feel about a lot of things. Like, people, there is the face of progressive and actually being progressive. And I feel like a lot of people in the Bay Area, they verbalize being more progressive than they actually are. So yeah, it's like, also, like, I hate to say it, but helping the people who are actually homeless is not letting them hang out in a tent. I'm like talking about people who are actually homeless, desperate, want to be indoors. It's finding a way to get them indoors. Like saying, we'll let that tent sit there. Like a tent in a camping situation by choice is different from I'm desperate. I can buy this cheap tent and find a piece of ground and hope I'm not get kicked in. But I could go into a whole rant about like sort of like how like not true some of the progressiveness is. There's a lot of mouth service that isn't actual action that's helping anybody. So yeah. Lori X, what are my future plans? To actually see more of the United States. I mean, honestly, see more of my country, travel through Canada. I had this whole idea I wanted to drive east again, go up to Canada, and drive back west through Canada. I do want to go to Alaska, maybe not on the same trip, so I want to make that trip. There's a lot of like just routes I want to take, and I want to take them slowly, and I want to be comfortable while I'm doing it, which is why I got the box truck, because it'll allow me to build something that's more in a Class C category, and allow me to have like the full comfort while I'm making those trips. Like, I spent 37 years in Baltimore, Maryland, and the surrounding area. Mostly, I very rarely went to Virginia, but it was mostly the area that's kind of connected to DC, so it feels like DC anyway. I spent a little bit of time in DC, but not a lot. But for 37 years, I didn't see much outside of Baltimore, Maryland. You know, I could count, you know, a tiny list, like, of places I went outside Baltimore, Maryland. And then, you know, when I was 37, I got on a plane and I went completely across to the other side of the country, and I was in the Bay Area of California. And that, you know, became my new home. You know, and with the exception of driving to Baltimore to close my storage unit, and coming back, and a couple of other little trips I've taken to like Arizona, and through Washington. I kind of went to Washington to pick up the van, but I didn't really see Washington, so I've been kind of through Washington, but I haven't even been to Washington. I lived in Oregon for a little bit, but, like, I've seen so little of the United States. Like, I'm not even obsessed with crossing the border down into Mexico or South America, or, like, flying to another country, because I've seen so little of the United States. I'm like, if I just got to see a lot more of the United States in the next year, in 2022, 2022 is what I call my big year, that would make me happy. And if I'm able to set sail sooner than that, I would be happy. You know, I want to know what it's like to experience as many places as I can, you know, as I get older. Like, I've spent a lot of time trying to be, you know, the ideal, to fit into, like, the ideal American, like, dream, to have the good paying job, and the nice house, and, you know, maybe have, you know, met a partner and had kids, and none of that happened. And now I'm almost 42. And so all I really want to do, and I've always wanted to travel, like, even as a kid I thought about traveling, but it always felt financially out of my reach. And so it was like, one day I'll have money and I'll travel. And I'll also have the good job and house and all those things that you're supposed to have by a certain age. And then when none of that happened, and, like, here were my 40s sneaking up on me, it really just advanced, like, what do I have to do to make sure that seeing more and traveling more happens? So my plan is to just see as much of what's out there as possible. And then there may come a point where I'm like, okay, I've seen a lot of the US. I want to fly to Hawaii. I would love to fly to Hawaii. I've seen enough of the US. I would like to more deeply explore Canada. Maybe at some point I want to go to Mexico. No lie, I'm kind of intimidated because of the language thing. Most of Canada speaks English, and I do speak this much French. I did terrible in Spanish. So I'm a little afraid of the language barrier. I think that's why I have never gotten that excited about Mexico. I would go with friends, but I'd be afraid to go by myself because of the language barrier. I'm less intimidated about going to Canada because like the language barrier is smaller. Um so yeah, that's my plans. It's nothing solid, it's just see more and as much as I can. Um Julian left a while ago, but I want to officially say bye bye. Well, she said goodbye at 9:39. Um, Raven, are you telling me to take out braids? They're not braids, they're locks. I can't take them out unless I literally cut my hair off. Like they're locks. um, Dorothy says, does your ladder have a lock to secure it to your hooks? No. Literally, it's a like 10, 11 foot ladder. And it's really kind of heavy and awkward to lift off those hooks. If somebody is committed enough to lift that ladder up and run down the street with it, they are super fit and they earned that ladder. Also, it's old. I got it from Craigslist. It ain't precious. I am not worried about it. Bunny Place here is in the chat. I love your channel, dude. I think I just noticed you earlier and I forgot to say something. But she says, agreed about the tent by choice versus by need. Exactly. Portland was one of the most confusing places I've been in reference to addressing that. Yeah. Yeah, it's one thing to like, you know, I know a lot of people who travel in their cars have tents. And so when they're at places where they can use the tent, they'll break the tent out and expand their living space. And then they, you know, if they need to sleep in their car, they can, and they're all prepared for that. But really, like, they're also set up to expand out a little bit with a tent. And I even did that with my van. Like, I liked having the tent with the van because it gave me this extra living space. And that is completely by choice. Whereas, like, if somebody set up on the, like, edge of the highway with their tent pitched, like that is not a by choice situation. Like, those people want to be indoors, and you're not helping them by saying, well, I'm not trying to kick them out, but I'm just going to drive past them. Like, that's not helping anybody. That's just, like, letting people continue to suffer, you know? Um... Bit off topic, but does Mickey have a time he likes to go to bed? My cat screeches at me if I'm not laying in bed at a certain time. Mickey, when he was a kitten, used to sleep with me. And I thought it was adorable and I loved it. Now Mickey naps half the day. And then just about the time that I decide I want to lay down and roll out my sleeping bag, he's like, it's playtime. So he actually lives in opposition of my sleep time, and usually maybe about an hour after he knows I'm not going to get up and play with him, he'll go to bed. And then we usually play first thing in the morning. Because he's like, oh, yes, you're in the sleeping bag. Now it's time to play. also just think he likes the sleeping bag because when I roll it out, he'll jump into it and then he'll kind of bat at it a little bit. So also maybe he just thinks the sleeping bag is a toy that I pull out to play with him before I lay in it. I don't know, but then he kind of has zoomies for like an hour, and honestly, I just lay there and let him do it because I'm tired at that point. So yeah. I kind of miss him cuddling up with me though, like he did when he was a kid. Now he's just like a grown man cat who's just like, I don't sleep in bed with you. um. Christine Rose says we have people here who are homeless by choice because they don't want to follow the rules at the shelters. So there's good and bad to that. There's people who are like drug addicts, for an example, and so a lot of times you have to be clean to be in those situations. I don't know what it's like in other states, but the list to get in anywhere permanently, like someplace you can stay long term, is like ridiculously long. And I don't, most of the people who get on those lists like want to go in. They're waiting to get in. They wish it was happening already. As far as like places you can stay for the night, walk-in places, just to add another layer to this, walk-in places, at least in California, at least in the Bay Area, do not exist. If it's like 8 o'clock and you're like, I would like to find a bed, and I can say this from the time where I was more homeless than houseless by choice. Like when I first started out and I actually was trying to look for help. And then I personally made a lot of like mental transitions, you know, and I made this commitment to make this a way to reach something I hadn't been able to reach before. But before that, when I was actually literally homeless, it's kind of difficult because I had a job. So it's like I could not guarantee that I could get across town to the one place that had a bed that you had to call ahead for. So some of the rules don't make it easy to get in. Like, it's not like everybody who's rejecting it is like, I don't want to give up drugs. Like, if it's like, I want to be at my drug dealer's house in the middle of the night or something like that, that's different. But yeah, there is like people who like don't want to deal with shelters, but shelters are also dangerous for the most part. Now I'm talking about the overnight ones. There are like long-term shelter situations that are different, but there are also overnight places that just aren't safe, and half the time I would have felt safer sleeping in my car than being at one of those one-night shelters. Besides the fact that I had a job, and like having a job deprioritized me for everything, it was just like, I can't afford housing in this area. Yeah, I have a job, but I can't afford housing. Like, I'm not making enough to afford housing. So it's a very weird thing. Shelters are a weird thing. And that still doesn't account for the lack of long-term situations and how hard they are to get in. Like, there were plenty of people who wanted to be in any kind of long-term secure situation that had to get put on a list. So shelters are a difficult situation. There's not really like you see on TV where you can pop up someplace at 8 o'clock at night and get a bed. You have to be like ahead of that game by a lot to even get a bed. So yeah. Bunny plays here. We have to sync up at some point, but I need to finish the truck first. Because you look like you just know how to find, like, really cool stuff. Like your videos are super cool. I'm glad I found your channel. Bobby V, congratulations on your 2008 Chevy cargo van. Okay. I'm trying to see how long we've been on. Carolyn, thanks you for pointing out I have locks, not braids. I can't take them out. I can shave my head, but I can't take out locks. Like, you don't take them out. Once you're done with locks, you shave your head and start over. I'm reading comments. Brad, I do not currently have plans to buy land. I don't want to have to take care of land. I wouldn't mind renting space on somebody else's land temporarily if I felt like I needed that, or being in a shared situation, some sort of shared situation where like I had a spot if I needed it and I was providing some sort of like money to the caregiver, but I wouldn't want to have land that nobody was there taking care of most of the time. And like, if I get a little bit more financially stable than I am, if it's like I need some place to stay, I hope if I ever have to do a big project like this again, I could just rent a warehouse space for a couple of months and then like, you know, wrap that up and move on with my life. Like, that would be more ideal to me than permanently owning land, because then I would have to take care of the land, you know? And land ownership should take a lot of research, because there are places where if you buy land, you have to build on that land. You can't just move your RV on it. So like from state to state and county to county, you have to verify what you can and can't do on land that you own. As much as you ever own land. Luminia, I'm probably butchering your name. Thank you for the $5 Canadian. Luminia. And I'm glad you caught me live too. Love you back. Christina Rose says we have more food programs than housing ones here. Yeah, you know, this crazy, it's fairly easy to get food. And I don't want to, how I want to word this, I don't want to take away the importance of that. You know, obviously food is a sustaining important thing, but yeah, like there's all kind, like there's churches, there's like governments where you can go and eat breakfast. Like there was a place you know, when it was really bad and I was destitute, there was places I could go to get like probably breakfast, lunch, and dinner for free. And even when I was homeless, I could get, I mean, you had to be smart about it, but you could go to like a lot of places and get an address. You couldn't actually live there, but usually they provided like some services, and they had meals at breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and you could sign up for them to take your mail. And if you signed up for them to take your mail, that meant you could go to social services, and you could also get food stamps, so you could also buy food. Now, the thing about most people who are homeless is they can't cook food. They don't have a kitchen. So it's easier to go to places that already have food. So yeah, it's not bad that they exist, but yeah, it's much easier to get food than get in a shelter. It's like, you had dinner, bye! Have fun sleeping on the street! I hope you know this is dark humor. But yeah, food programs are fairly common. And if not through government resources, through like churches and stuff like that, and I'm glad those things exist, but yeah, if we could get like housing programs for people who are really desperate to match like food programs, we will have progressed. Alright, so I'm probably going to wrap this up in the next 15 minutes or so. I don't want to talk about homelessness anymore. It's like, I've been through, like, I try to smile through it. Ooh, look who's here. Come here. He's like, no, I was going somewhere. Look who's here. Say hi. Say hi. What are you looking at? That's not the camera. He actually wants to escape, and I won't let him. He's like, I'm gonna figure this out. If I move the right way, I will escape. He's standing on the Jackery. I really do love having this cat. Like, I smile and laugh way more during the day because this little dude's around. He's gonna step on the phone, but yeah. I love him. He's gonna knock down something soon. I don't know what, but something's gonna knock down soon. Mickey, you turned off the light. Stop it. Woo! Carolyn asked me which city do I prefer to park in. Near the water's probably nice. I don't really have, not San Francisco. Like, if I have to be near my mailbox and like doing sort of home basey things, not San Francisco. That's my answer. I don't care how near the water I am. It's just too hard to park in San Francisco. And San Francisco is built for small vehicles. I don't think I've been across the bridge in my box truck. But I don't think I've seen enough of everywhere to really have a preference. Yeah, so that's my real answer. Mellow Nomadic asked me if I'm going to any meetups this year. Don't know. Right now I have a work schedule and I have gaps, but they're not gaps where I can go that far. So it depends on dates, it depends on situations. Like, there's so much I can't predict right now. Mickey, what are you doing? Dude, what are you doing? He's like, I'm being a cat. That's what I'm doing. That's my job. Amazingly Beat, thank you for the $10 super chat. Dorothy, thank you for the adorable sticker and the $19.99 super chat. Ringo says, Mickey, don't pee on the Jackery. Actually, I've been really lucky with Mickey. He has literally never peed outside his litter box. And I got nervous when I changed litter boxes because he had a little blue one he had when he was a kitten. And it fit underneath my passenger seat in the Chevy Express van. And he had gotten kind of big for it anyway, but when we moved into the box truck, I got a different litter box, and I'd moved the litter box from under the passenger seat to an area under my bed in the Chevy Express van because he had just gotten bigger, but it was the same little box, really, and he was still kind of too big. What are you doing? What are you doing? And he was still kind of too big for it, but I was afraid to change boxes. And he was fine. He was like, litter, I got this. This is where I go, right? And no problems, except for tracking litter. But that's always what I'm scared of when I change litter boxes. Because I thought about the top entry box, but I'm just always nervous. He'll decide he doesn't have a litter box and go somewhere he shouldn't. But so far he hasn't. Like, put litter in it and he's like, okay, this is the bathroom. I got it. Bunny Plays here says, I drove through San Francisco at midnight and there were still no parking places. Exactly. And you have, like, I don't know if you did it in your car or your NV, which is basically a minivan, but like even in my minivan, it was like that city is built for small cars. Like it doesn't like big things. At all. Keno Brown says during the summer some van lifers be down by the beaches. I don't know if you're basing that on videos or actual experience, because what I've found in most cases, people shoot at the beach during the day, but there are a lot of beaches where you can't actually stay there overnight. So like people go there, excuse me, during the day with their van, and then they'll go somewhere they can sleep, and then they'll come back and hang out during the day. But I don't know. There may be areas where people can actually stay there in their vans, but for the most part, I've seen that's where they hang out during the day. It's not where they sleep at night. Buddy Plays here says I was in the car, which is literally the size of a toddler sneeze. Yeah, I used to work in SF, and I knew a couple of places where I could park, but it was never a guarantee. And let's just say across the bridge, I have better luck casually finding parking, which is my preferred way to find it. Kathy says I got a top entry litter box for my cats, and they love it better than the regular litter box. I mean, like, I don't know. My biggest fear is that he'll get confused about where the litter box is. Not so much that he'll hate it. It's just that in the transition, he won't identify, oh, the litter box is distinct with a hole. Now, I'm probably underestimating Mickey's intelligence, because he's actually a rather smart cat. But I have this fear that if I change it, it'll somehow confuse him, and he won't understand that it is the litter box. Even if at some point he'll go, oh, this is kind of cool. Honestly, don't think he cares. As long as there's a litter box, I don't think he cares, like, what it looks like, top entry, side entry, completely open, closed. Like, I don't think he really cares. He just needs to know where it is. Areebus Dark said, I got a new kitten and he pooped everywhere. Whoa, that sucks. Oh, that totally sucks. I mean, like, I'm sure he'll grow out of it, but that kind of sucks. Ugh. Yeah, Mickey never went outside the box, like, ever. Like, ever. Alright, it's, like, almost been 2 hours, so we're gonna go ahead and wrap this up. It's always fun doing these. I'm sorry it had to be so late. I kind of, like, I got done with rehearsal, and then, like, I drove to where I was gonna stay overnight. And now I am preparing to go. Well, I have to send a report. I technically should have done the report before the live, but I didn't. So I still have to send my report tonight, and then I'll go to bed. I need to do my job, my theater job. I was going to try to get a video out by Friday, but I think I need to re-examine my schedule, and take a breather. Because the last video I put out, I think it was like 40 minutes long, and it just took a while to edit. So I'm not going to make myself put a video out tomorrow. Because there's other stuff I have to do. Hi, Mickey. Here for the sign-off for like 5 seconds. And, you know, take a breather. Give me some time to put that other video together. And I'll give you guys more updates. I still need to show you the video of installing my other 2 windows. I have 3 windows in total, and I've only done a video on the installation of one. And I think those are the really big things. Like, I finished the tile wall from the last video. I patched the areas of the floor, the subfloor that I messed up. I did insulation, so I think, like, the next big things I did that I haven't shown you the videos for is really installing the other windows. Oh, and my underbody toolboxes. Remember the boxes that I wanted to put under the truck? I have videos on that, too, so I just need to put that stuff together in some linear way. doing stuff on the inside of the box truck is kind of on hold a bit, so it should give me time to catch up with videos. So hopefully by the time I'm doing the next big thing, it'll only be like maybe a week or less gap in actually having that video out for you guys to see as well. But it's tricky finding the balance between getting stuff done, filming it, and editing it in a way that I can roll out to YouTube. Because it's not to just sit the camera there and film it. It's like, oh, I'm doing this thing, move the camera. Oh, I'm outside the truck now, move it over there. It's a whole thing. And I enjoy it. I love video editing. Like, if I ever reach the point where I don't want to edit video, I feel like I shouldn't do YouTube anymore. And it's because I enjoy it so much, I hate the idea of putting things out half done. And so I struggle. Alright. And I'm not even that good at it, to be quite honest. Like, I'm a mediocre editor at best. Alright, good night, guys. I'm done. Ooh, thank you for everything.